What's up guys, in today's video I wanted to talk to you about what I do when I'm in a study slump. And yeah, let's get into the video. So today it's Saturday the 9th of January. It is currently 10:45 a.m. and usually on weekdays I get started with working earlier, but in the weekends when I know I'm not going to be that busy, I think it's fine to just chill out for a bit. So that's what I did this morning. But yeah, I'm just going to get some work in, and no, actually the first thing I'm going to do is plan out my day. So the planning system that I use is one that was designed by August Bradley, who also has a YouTube channel which is all about working with Notion, which is the note-taking / life planning app that I use. If you would like a more detailed video about how I plan my day and all of that, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll create that video. But for now, I'll just start writing down what I'm going to do today. Okay, so I'm done with planning what I want to do today. I have just written down all I want to do and a rough estimate as to how much time that's going to cost me. Now I'm going to get started with the first thing, which is watching some tutorials. I'll check back in with you after I've finished doing that. I'm assuming it's going to take me about 45 minutes to an hour to watch all of the videos. So yeah, I'm going to get started doing that and I'll check back in with you later. Okay, so I just finished watching the tutorials, which didn't take as much time as I guessed that it would. I'm going to take some of my laundry downstairs, which will then also be my break, and then I'll get back into work and tell you about the first tip of the day. Now that that's finished, I wanted to get into my first tip, which is not necessarily one that's just for when you're in a study slump, but it is to combine studying with something that you actually do want to do. So for example, make a deal with yourself that if I study this subject for 1 hour or something, I will get to watch an episode of my favorite Netflix show, or maybe watch a YouTube video, read a book, go on a short walk, or anything that you like to do. Just try to combine it with that. My next tip is very cliche and also made an appearance in my why I don't need motivation to study video, but it's to just think of your why. Whenever I really do not feel like studying, I think of why I need to go study. For example, for me, it's still that I want to get into my dream study, and in order to do that, I need very good grades. And in order to get those, I need to study really hard. So that's my why. In addition to that, a more intrinsic part of my why is that I just identify as a person that studies hard. If you identify as someone who is something, it's way easier to get started as when you're saying, like, I'm trying to study harder, because then you kind of insinuate that you're not someone that usually does this, but now you're trying. And if instead you say, I am someone that studies hard, you take that part and identify yourself with it, and that makes it way more powerful and makes it easier to actually do the thing you want to do. Right now I'm going to get started with some math exercises. I think I'm going to get started by putting a timer of 15 minutes because I really do not feel like doing math exercises right now, because math is just something that I find quite hard and therefore I have less motivation to actually do it, which is kind of the opposite way that it should actually be, but hey, it's how life works. And this kind of ties in with my next tip, which is to start small if you really do not feel like doing something. If, like me, you really don't like math or some other subject and you need to study for it anyway, or you need to make homework for it, just start off with either the simplest exercise or setting a timer for 10 or 15 minutes. And after you've just gotten going, you're way more likely to keep going because you've started it anyway, and starting is usually the hardest part of doing something. So I'm going to grab my phone, set a timer to 15 minutes and get started with some math exercises. Okay, so I just worked for about 20 to 25 minutes instead of 15, which is exactly what I hoped that would happen, but now I'm starting to feel pretty hungry, so I'm going to get some lunch and then get back into work after that. I'm back from lunch, and with that is my next tip, which is kind of ironic because my desk is currently quite a mess because there's still some moving boxes over there that I can't unpack yet, therefore I have to store some stuff on my desk. But that tip is decluttering your desk, because if you work at your desk and it's messy, it's way harder to concentrate on what you're trying to do. And we want to make studying as easy as possible. That's something I always strive towards, but even more so when I'm in a study slump. So decluttering your desk having a space that you can easily focus is really important then. Now I'm going to get back into my math practice and yeah, talk to you when I'm done. I just worked on a few of the practice questions for math, and now I'm kind of done with math for now. So I'm going to change up what I'm doing, and I'm now going to read the book that I want to finish for my Dutch class, or actually my Dutch exam that I have in a few months from now, but I still need to finish this book and then read another 4, so I'm going to get working on that. After that I'll just get back into math, or maybe do any of my other homework if I still really do not want to do math. That leads me into my next tip, which is to not always schedule everything so tightly and make yourself do the things in the order that you set them in that morning or the day before or something, because sometimes you just really do not feel like doing something, and as long as you get it done at the end of the day, it doesn't always matter in which sequence you finish all the things you have to do. So that's my next tip, and now I will get into some reading. Almost forgot to mention the tip that goes with the previous one, and that is to work in different places. And this can both mean different places in your room, or different places in general, like the library or your home or school or whatever, because studying or working in a different spot can sometimes help you renew your energy. For example, right now, as I said, I'm going to read a book, but if I keep sitting at my desk, it will still feel like work, while I don't personally consider reading as work. So instead I'm going to be sitting on my bed, and that way it will feel more like a relaxing activity, and that way when I get back to my desk, studying for my math test will become easier again, because I haven't been stuck at my desk for a longer time. But normally, in a world where we could go out whenever we want and wherever we want, I would also suggest switching up studying places, like going to the library instead of your room, because your room is usually filled with more distractions than a library would be. Okay guys, it's been about 2 hours since I last talked to you. I did read for quite a bit, but then I got really tired and went downstairs to kind of just chill, and I fell asleep. So now it's 16:36, so that's around 2 hours past without doing anything, and to be honest, that's totally fine. As I said, this isn't a weekend where I'm supposed to work super hard, so that was absolutely fine. Apparently I needed to sleep. I kind of think that it might be a good thing to end the video here, because I am going to be working some more, but it probably won't be too interesting. So I just wanted to give you my last few tips and then leave you with those and say my goodbye for this week. One of my last few tips is that it's worth a shot to try and wake up earlier, because at least for me and for a lot of other people, waking up earlier kind of indicates that there is something that needs to get done, and therefore gives me more motivation automatically without me having to do anything else for it. So that's obviously a very big plus. The next tip is to set a waste timer, which is a timer where you decide upfront a specific time during which you can do whatever the hell you want, so you don't have to be productive at all. And then as soon as that timer goes off, you go back into or start with your productive tasks. And this may sound really basic and not really helpful, because usually when you procrastinate, you want to get into real work and you don't do it, so why would this be any different? But I have found that whenever I set this timer, because I've made an agreement with myself that this is the limited amount of time that I still get, and then I really do have to get to work, that I find myself actually doing that. So I would definitely recommend trying that out. Another tip is another pretty cliche one, but it is to put away your phone. Even if you just simply see it laying around, your mind will begin to wonder about your Instagram followers or whatever, and that is not the ideal situation, and obviously not what we want when we're trying to work productively. So put away your phone is another really important one. And the last tip is to find out what time during the day is your optimal time to work, because basically everyone has a certain amount of time during the day when they're able to focus the best. For me, that's usually just after I wake up, which during weekdays is between 6 and 7 a.m. and on weekends is usually around 9 to 10 a.m. And I would just really advise you to try and figure out what your optimum time is, because during that time you're often able to produce 2 to 3 times the amount of work that you would usually be able to do, simply because your brain is able to focus better. So that is something that is, for me at least, really important during my day as well. With all of that being said, I hope you liked the video. If you did, please like it. And if you got some value out of it, please comment down below what your favorite tip was. If you want to see more of my videos, subscribe. And I hope to see you next week.